One of the reasons people engage myself and my team as buyer's agents here in Southeast Queensland is our local expertise. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at a property that we helped a client purchase here in the Brisbane or Greater Brisbane market and talking you through why we looked at that property and how it fit their overall strategy. My name's Luke, and if you're interested in working with myself, you can head over to purposeproperty.com.au to book in a free strategy session where we can have a chat. Now, this property is located roughly 25 kilometers on the south side of Brisbane. And the client I was working with had a very specific brief. Now, Dan and I had a great working relationship. He was looking for a project. He was looking for a development site or the ability to add value by pulling levers. Now, I talk a lot about levers on the YouTube channel and the ability to manufacture value when you need it. You don't always need to be able to do something straight away, but having a lever you can pull down the track is a great reward and a great way to manufacture value, pull out equity, boost cash flow, and get more out of your property portfolio. So in Dan's specific buying brief, he had actually built up a property portfolio. And Dan was looking to add a property on the this little cheeky guy is jumping in today's video. And Dan was looking for a property on the south side of Brisbane that had development potential. He was looking for over 1,000 square meters or even 2,000 square meters so he could do potentially a subdivision or townhouses or a granny flat. So that's exactly what we were looking for. Now, our average buying time frame as buyer's agents here in Southeast Queensland is roughly 6 to 8 weeks for the average client. You know, we've bought properties in the first weekend within 48 hours for some clients, and it takes a much longer time for other clients. Our contracts are for 6 months, which gives people confidence when they're working with us that we've got a reasonable amount of time to find the right property for them, whether it's their own home or whether it's an investment property. Now, in Dan's case, he was looking for an investment. And so we were looking for a property with the development potential on over 1,000 square meters where he could either do a granny flat or a subdivision, and he could potentially add value to the home on that front property by doing a cosmetic renovation in about 5 to 10 years time. So there's a lot of boxes there that needed to be ticked. And of course, all the fundamentals as well. It needs to be in a quiet street, in an area with growth potential, located near to transport infrastructure to get in towards Brisbane CBD, and located in an area with low crime and higher incomes. So we didn't find that property straight away. That's the honest truth. You're not going to have that property instantly on your doorstep. You need to narrow down all these things in the buying brief. And that's what we do as part of our first phase. With all our clients, we sit down and look at their buying brief. We go through those 5 key areas in price, strategy, suburbs, property specifics, and red flags. And once that's all listed out, that's how we narrow down to find the right opportunities. Some of those opportunities were 2,000 square meter blocks with potentially 3 to 4 subdivision blocks, cutting 3 to 4 blocks off of that site. And that project might have cost $1 million to actually do the development. Other options were on 800 square meters, but you couldn't do a 100 square meter granny flat. You could only do a 70 square meter granny flat. So it came down to finding the right opportunity. So what I'm going to do now is walk you through some of the photos of the property, tell you our thinking that Dan and I had, also the chats we had with building and pest inspectors, and some fixes that we had both in the short and long term. So this is the property you can see here on screen. It's a single car garage off to the left-hand side, and it's got a bit of a slope on the block, front to back, with a bit of a downhill. Now, this is not a major issue because there is some strip drainage there in front, and there was some water down the right-hand side of the house that needed to be channeled away from the house in future. And we noted that there were some minor plumbing upgrades that needed to be done to the home. So this shot gives you a look inside the home. You can see it's a little bit dated, but definitely still modern enough for most people, and especially for a rental property. It's got tiled floors throughout, basic ceilings, basic color on the walls, and some interesting staging there with a chair in the corner. This is a shot back towards the extra dining space, which was separated from the kitchen. The kitchen's actually on the other side. So one of Dan's plans is that door in the middle of screen leads out to a garaged area. And down the track, if he wanted to, he could knock out some of the walls here, add in a master suite, and put in an ensuite as well. This could allow him to get an extra bedroom and bathroom under the one roof line and add value to the home as long as he can do the renovations at a reasonable cost. You can see a shot of the kitchen and out onto the backyard here. So this property was on over 1,000 square meters, and there's a huge backyard space out here with a couple of trees in a tree line in the middle of the yard. And you've got the view of the kitchen here, which is the standard laminate kitchen with some nice bench tops. And again, it's all very cream and all very basic, but very suitable for a rental property in this area. This is a closer shot of the kitchen. This is great when you're buying a tenant-ready property. Dan's aware that he could do some renovations in 5 to 10 years' time and significantly add value, but he wasn't looking for something straight away. And so buying a property that's clean, tidy, ready to rent makes it easy in the short term, and then you can pull those levers in the long term. This is a shot of that extra dining space, which is off the back side of the kitchen, and there's no access between those rooms at this point. And this is a shot of the bathroom, which has been modernized a little bit. So I thought the bathrooms were quite good in this property. Very neat, very tidy, very white and bright. And that's all you need in a bathroom space, especially for a rental. Keep it clean, keep it simple. Chrome tapware is fine, and it's ready to go. Now, this is a shot of some of the bedroom spaces. So you can see the carpet's a little bit tired there, but still very usable and serviceable. And they've got the basic roller blinds. You could upgrade with some ceiling fans down the track or add an aircon here or there, but definitely some nice standard size rooms in this home. And this is the real exciting stuff. So this is the back patio space and all of this yard space. And to our right, you can't actually see it on screen. There's even more yard off to the right. Now, the great thing about this property is because it's only over 1,000 square meters, Dan might be able to look at doing a subdivision down the track, obviously subject to council approval. But in my opinion, the real sweet spot for this property is to build an auxiliary dwelling, otherwise known as a granny flat. If Dan looks to build a granny flat on the back of this property in this given area, he'll be able to get rent of around $500 per week. That's because he's able to build a 100 square meter gross floor area granny flat with 2 bedrooms plus a study and 2 bathrooms. Now, this is obviously all subject to council approval and private certification and things like that, but we've helped clients build 2-bedroom granny flats in these areas for around about that $150,000 to $250,000. So as you can imagine here, maybe Dan spends $200,000 to $250,000 and he gets a rental return of around $400 to $500 per week. The front house is also going to be bringing in, say, $600 per week. So gross on the 2 properties, he could be bringing anywhere in between, say, $1,000 to $1,100. Now, that's a lot of money from one property purchase. And so in my opinion, when you're looking to build out a property portfolio, you want to acquire these assets and then pull those levers to build the auxiliary dwellings or do the renovations at a later date. Now, of course, you can be more aggressive like myself and do the reno straight away, pull equity, refinance, build the portfolio. But for most Aussies who are going to buy, say, 1 to 3 investment properties, buying properties where you can add value down the track by adding granny flats or doing these cosmetic renos is a great way to build a property portfolio. Now, Dan himself had been building his own portfolio, and this was another one to the mix that he needed that sweet spot and he needed all of those levers to be pulled. There was a lot of boxes to be ticked, and that's why it took some time to buy this property, but it was well worth it in my opinion. All of the hard work and the searching and the due diligence paid off in the end. We even helped Dan chat with a town planner to get comfortable around his potential plans with the property and to make sure that we were running the right checks and balances with council. So I think this aerial shot is a great last shot to finish on to give you a view of what he could do down the track with a secondary dwelling or even a subdivision. So where all these trees are, he could put a clean fence line down this side of the property, put a driveway down the left-hand side of this current property that extends all the way out to the back, put a carport in the corner here, have this nice little yard space, and have an auxiliary dwelling here in the middle. And that's exactly what Dan is planning on doing in the next 10 years. It's up to him in terms of the timing as to when he does that with this property, but I think it has a lot of potential and it's a very exciting endeavor. So the property was purchased for $770,000. We were able to negotiate as part of the building and pest inspection a small discount, and Dan was able to do that extra due diligence with Denise from Planning Insights. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to get a big head, but I wanted to read through Dan's review to give you an idea of his feedback because he'd worked with multiple buyer's agents. So Dan said, we worked with Luke and his team at Purpose Property to purchase an investment property in Brisbane. We had a very specific brief that we wanted to meet. Luke and his team worked very hard to come up with exactly what we were looking for. What impressed me about Luke was his depth of knowledge of the property market. Well, thank you, Dan. I really appreciate that. And the strategies to fit our brief. With Luke, you'll be working with someone who has real-world experience from buying, renovating, and selling properties himself, and this really shows. I've worked with other buyers agents in Brisbane, and Luke has been the best out of them. I mean, I really appreciate those words from Dan, and that's really nice to hear that people appreciate working with us. and I'd recommend them if you're in the Brisbane market. I mean, those are some really nice words from Dan. Again, I don't want to get a big head on myself, but I do like the points that Dan said around Emily and I buying and building our own property portfolio and our team being value adding to them as buyer's agents. That's the big thing for me when you're looking to potentially work with us or any buyer's agent or anyone for that matter. For the money you're going to spend and invest, is it going to give you value? And that's exactly what we were looking to do here for Dan and for all our clients. You get direct contact with myself. I have a larger team so we can cover the ground across Southeast Queensland, and we have that local competitive advantage. And it's about finding the right property for the right price in the right location. So let's move on because I don't want to talk myself up too much. But thanks for sticking around and checking out this recent client purchase. There's a whole list of recent client purchases. So if you want to see other purchases that we've made here in the Southeast Queensland market, then click this playlist somewhere over here. Let's just put it on my face. Otherwise, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.